道路，不能将人权问题政治化、工具化，反对以人权为借口干涉别国内政。中方愿同各方一道，践行真正的多边主义，积极参与人权理事会工作，为国际人权事业做出更大贡献。谢谢主席先生。
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Tiene la palabra Fondation pour l'étude des relations internationales et du développement.
L'étude de développement.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to thank all the speakers for their interventions and you for the initiative organizing this panel. At the outset, let me acknowledge also the moderator, Tistounet's outstanding contributions to the development of this council, including facilitating civil society access to this important UN body. The Geneva Human Rights Platform was created at the Geneva Academy to support the functioning of the Geneva-based human rights mechanism. The Academy itself was created along with the Human Rights Council 15 years ago. Looking back at this time, first let me congratulate the Human Rights Council for its innovation power. Thoroughly based in GA Resolution 6251 and the institution building package of HRC Resolution 51, the Council has never ceased to develop or even to reinvent itself. The numerous commissions of inquiry are such an example, as is the capacity of the Council to treat issues blocked by veto in the Security Council, as lately on the situation in Ukraine stemming from the Russian aggression. It is to be hoped that the Human Rights Council will react in similarly strong ways to other current or future conflicts. In the same vein, I would like to encourage the Council to apply the same standards to all its members and candidates for Human Rights Council membership, to ensure upholding high standards for membership and to hold members accountable to their pledges. While it is important that all states are observers to this body and that it always remains a place for dialogue, membership criteria should be enforced. In this regard, what would the panelists suggest to ensure coherent application of the criteria in elections and the evaluation of Human Rights Council members? Secondly, focusing on the UPR and encouraged by the statements of Mona Ambikai and other panelists, I would like to ask if the panelists could elaborate more on how the UPR's unbroken track record and attractiveness could be best maintained and strengthened during the fourth cycle. For example, could the inclusion of a new group of stakeholders, I think in particular of cities and local government, bring the UPR even closer to the realities of people and bring those perspectives from the local level into the Geneva debate? Third and last, let me turn to the topic of universality and the standard setting by the Human Rights Council. The recent global recognition of the right to environment was yet another example of the HRC's vision and importance. While the HRC's focus is undeniably on implementation, norm setting does not stop. Yet, while the Human Rights Council and more particularly the UPR have made a great step forward in terms of institutional universality in the human rights system, the universality, interdependence, and indivisibility of rights substantively, on the other hand, remains to be challenged by relativism and exceptionalism. In a forthcoming publication, we make recommendations to address this issue. What would be the panelists' view? How could the notion of equal human dignity serve as the basis for a revisited, strengthened narrative of human rights universality? Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, and y le pido a todos, por favor,
I would like to remind all
respetar el tiempo que habíamos
speakers to stick to their
acordado para
allotted
que haya
speaking
más
time
intervenciones.
so that we can take as many speakers as possible.
Le doy la
I
palabra
would
ahora
now
a
like to call
Palestina.
on the state of Palestine.
Thank you, Mr. President. We would also like to thank the panelists for their insightful thoughts. Mr. President, the State of Palestine attaches great importance to the mandate of the Human Rights Council to promote and protect human rights. We have always engaged in a constructive manner with the Council and its mechanisms. We acknowledge a number of achievements by this Council, including the important work by the special procedures and the investigative mechanisms, civil society participation, the establishment of the UPR, and the technical assistance to states that gives an opportunity to further promote and protect human rights. However, as we are here to reflect on the past 49 session, it is crucial to also address the shortcomings of this Council. The Human Rights Council was created to promote and protect human rights around the world. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights affirms that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights, yet many around the world are still deprived of their freedom and dignity. There are double standards being flaunted and accepted around the world. It seems as though different standards apply to human rights violations and abuses depending on who commits them, and who they are committed against. It should not be accepted to call acts harming civilians as war crimes or crimes against humanity in one place, while allowing other crimes to be perpetrated elsewhere with complete impunity. The double standards are further damaging the international legal system and allowing more crimes to be committed. If this Council is about promoting and protecting human rights for all, then it is time to learn from the past in order to better understand the present and anticipate the future. I thank you.
Gracias. Tiene la palabra
I now call
Islandia
on
en nombre de un grupo de países.
on behalf of a group of countries.
Thank you, President. I have the honor to deliver this statement on behalf of the Nordic Baltic countries, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, Norway, Latvia, Lithuania, Sweden, and my own country, Iceland. As we commemorate the 50th session, we reflect on the Council's successes, challenges, and opportunities. Overall, the Human Rights Council is a success. It has shown its relevance and ability to respond to crises throughout rapidly established commissions of inquiries. The adoption of the resolution on prevention, 4531, was a milestone. The Council is perfectly placed to prevent serious human rights situations from deteriorating further. The Human Rights Council architecture is working. The special procedures publish bold and timely reports. UPR provides valuable recommendations to improve human rights nationally. However, ensuring adequate and predictable funding is a key. We must make sure that mandates established by the Human Rights Council get the necessary funding and expertise. Our discussions are often subject to deep polarization. We need to build bridges and seek compromise. We need to work on civil, political, economic, social, and cultural rights at the same pace, always putting the individual at the center. Civil society and human rights defenders play a crucial role, as well as national human rights institutions. We have strong normative framework, but the implementation gap is too large. We can all do more at home to implement the human rights that we call for in this room. Finally, I would like to thank the High Commissioner for her tireless efforts for human rights during her mandate. I thank you.
Thank you. And now I give the floor to La Suisse, our host country.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, President.
J'aimerais tout d'abord me joindre à la déclaration conjointe présentée par ma collègue allemande et adressée à la haute commissaire. J'aimerais aussi remercier le président de l'Assemblée générale des Nations unies pour sa présence au début de notre événement cet après-midi. J'aimerais surtout remercier aux panélistes et aux modérateurs, notre vénérable Eric Tistounet, pour la présentation de cet après-midi. Monsieur le Président, la Suisse est fière d'être l'État hôte du Conseil des droits de l'homme et y attache une importance particulière. Le Conseil est le principal organe intergouvernemental de l'ONU pour la promotion et la protection des droits de l'homme dans le monde entier. Son travail, à travers ses différents mécanismes, a un impact direct et important sur le terrain. Il joue également un rôle clé dans l'élaboration et l'interprétation des normes internationales, ainsi que dans la mise en œuvre effective des droits de l'homme et du droit international humanitaire. Pourtant, le Conseil des droits de l'homme est confronté à un certain nombre de défis concernant l'accomplissement de son mandat, ainsi que ses méthodes de travail et ses ressources. Dans ce contexte, la Suisse s'engage en faveur d'un Conseil fort, réactif et capable de remplir entièrement son mandat. Elle a d'ailleurs soutenu et accompagné diverses initiatives visant à renforcer le Conseil et à accroître son efficacité à long terme. Nous sommes convaincus que les améliorations pratiques peuvent encore être réalisées sans changer le cadre institutionnel du Conseil par le biais de discussions transparentes et inclusives avec toutes les parties prenantes. Merci beaucoup.
Merci. Tiene la
Thank you.
palabra
I now
El
call
Salvador.
on El Salvador.
Muy bien, entonces Vamos a pasar
El
como
Salvador is not
última
here, so I
intervención
now
que podemos
give the floor
acomodar
to our last
en esta
speaker
sesión,
in
reiterando que
this
todo el
session.
resto puede hacer llegar su
And at the
intervención
same time,
para
I'd
que
like to
quede en el
remind
récord
you that all
histórico
of
de
you
esta
can
sesión.
upload your statements onto the internet so that they form part of the
La
records
Organización
of this
Center for
historic session.
Reproductive Rights.
So I give the floor to the Center for Reproductive Rights.
President, as we celebrate the 50th session of the Human Rights Council, the Center for Reproductive Rights would like to highlight the normative progress this body has made on sexual and reproductive health and rights. Over the last 50 sessions, the Human Rights Council has recognized core sexual and reproductive rights issues, such as child early and forced marriage and preventable maternal mortality and morbidity, as human rights issues, thereby reaffirming that sexual and reproductive rights are human rights. The Human Rights Council has also enabled significant normative and political progress on eliminating violence and discrimination against women and girls, increasingly looking at the rights of women and girls and marginalized groups through an intersectional lens, notably through looking at humanitarian situations and pushing towards a gendered analysis of the impact of conflict and other humanitarian settings. It is important to remember that these advances were the direct result of the work, commitment, drive, and political savviness of women human rights defenders and feminist organizations and movements. Without the tireless advocacy of these activists who are harassed, attacked, defamed, and threatened for the work that they do, we wouldn't be celebrating those victories. They are the reasons creating a circle of accountability that spans from the national to the global level and back is even possible. While we celebrate these advances, there is still a long way to go for the full realization of sexual and reproductive rights for all. At a time where sexual and reproductive rights are being questioned, undermined, and threatened, and where the impact of intersectional discrimination is being minimized, the Human Rights Council should now more than ever stand firm on its mission and commitment to reflect the strongest standards possible in its resolutions and activities, and should ensure that women human rights defenders are able to do their work in a safe and enabling environment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Muchas gracias. Quiero agradecer a todos los que han participado, las autoridades, los panelistas. Lamentablemente no tenemos tiempo para seguir, pero les quiero agradecer especialmente a todas las delegaciones que han participado, a la Secretaría, el enorme esfuerzo, a Eliasson, a Iván y sobre todo invitamos a los panelistas a que en caso de que las preguntas que han recibido o que reciban de los statements que van a mandar los países, en la medida de lo posible, si pueden tener algún feedback para aquellas personas que se interesaban en conocer su opinión. Muchas gracias a todos, a todas en esta histórica sesión y queda finalizada esta sesión y vamos, como sabemos, el Consejo sigue trabajando ahora mismo. Gracias.